You talk to them, you know they're coming, which it's all great. It's all great. They are very independent, they're very direct, and they are very demanding. I keep moving my slide around or my clicker. All right. More information. Under pressure, D styles or dominant styles, they come across with a lack of concern. Essentially, what that means is they may be perceived by others as being insincere or being cold. Their fear is loss of control. People who are D styles like to have control of situations. When it comes to making changes to tasks or activities or projects, their motto is things do not change, or excuse me, things do not progress without change. And then finally, when it comes to doing, they want to do it right now. They don't want to hesitate. When you're interacting with a D style, a couple of points to think about is give immediate feedback, concentrate on the subject, and maintain results orientation. It's not recommended, however, to frustrate his or her desire to take power, restrict his or her power, or even spend time on non-essentials. As an I tend to be a little chatty, so I could kind of frustrate a D, but I continue to learn. So we'll continue on. Who do we think some famous I styles could be? As I'm sharing a couple of examples, I want you to think about your circle of connections, previous managers you've worked for in the past, previous coworkers who seem to have these similar traits. Frank Alaniz, just kidding. Um, no, Frank is not like that at all. Let's see. Alec Baldwin is known to be a dominant style. Simon Cowell of American Idol, Bernadette of The Big Bang Theory. Couple of examples. Yes.
You have some more you doing?
Oh,
Okay. You have a list, I was gonna say, I got one for you.
you got one for me? Who would that be?
Donald J. Trump.
Okay, all right. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the I style. I styles, as I indicated, I align with the I styles. I styles are influential. These are individuals who are more active and are more people oriented. These individuals are very energetic, they're very enthusiastic, they're very positive, and they want to make sure everybody has fun. They can also tend to be a little emotional. Their focus is actively involved with people and emotions. Under pressure, I styles can appear to be disorganized, and their fear is social rejection. I know that. I like to be liked. I hope y'all like me. Otherwise, I feel rejected. When it comes to making changes, I styles are okay with making changes. They just want to make sure everyone's having fun during this change. And then when it comes to doing things, they want to make sure everyone's having fun doing them. Otherwise, they get a little nervous. When you're interacting with an I style, you want to show enthusiasm, smile, chat a little bit. Focus on the positive, make it fun, and let him or her talk a little bit. It's not recommended to put down his or her enthusiasm, focus on too many details that could be overwhelming for eyes, or react negatively. Who do we think some famous I styles would be? Will Smith is a famous I style. Did you have one, Paul?
No, I was just kind of giving my Will Smith impression.
Okay. All right. Jim Carrey is also an I style. Think about, as I'm going through these traits and descriptions, think about yourself. Where do you feel you rest? Also, again, like I said, for the D style, think about previous interactions that you've had with others for what their style is like.
Definitely an I.
All right. All right. And thanks for sharing that. Paul, do you want to, you're better with your clicker. Someone else is joining. Thanks so much for arriving. Oh, I should have practiced this a little more. Thank you. All right. So now let's move on to the S style of individual. So S styles are more the steady style. So these folks are more people oriented, yet they are also a little bit reserved. Some of the characteristics of the Steady style include they're very steady, they're very calm, they're a team player, they're very patient, they're very amiable, and very reliable. Oh, we've got more people coming in. All right. Okay. Additional characteristics include under pressure, S styles can be too accommodating. Essentially, what that means is S styles, oh, bless you. S styles do not like to say no to anything. An S style could have a ton of things on their plate, but they just don't like to say no. Their fear is loss of stability. And when it comes to making changes, their motto is it's working fine the way it is. Why make a change? S styles don't like to make changes. And when it comes to doing things, they like to do things as agreed. In other words, they don't like the pressure themselves of having to be the decision maker on behalf of a group. They would prefer to have a consensus of what the decision is. When you're interacting with an S style, you want to make sure to slow down, take your time, provide assurances and support, and give enough time to decide when you're asking a question about a project or just a general question. It's not recommended to be restless, pressure for action, make sudden changes, or fail to deliver on promises. Who do you think some famous S styles would be? Tom Hanks. Got some more over here. Who do you think, Paul?
Let's see if I remember the slides that I was looking at 3 hours ago. Let's see, I remember Tom Hanks. Peyton Manning was one I
Very
remember.
good. Michael J. Fox.
There you go.
Very good. Again, you may yourself have some of the S style within you. And just think about interactions you've had with previous colleagues and bosses and even clients. What style do you feel resonates with them? Let's continue on to the C style. C style individuals are task oriented and reserved individuals. They're very concerned about analytics, being accurate, being essentially correct, being conscientious. They're quieter, they're very thorough, they are rule followers, and they're a little bit more formal. They are also known for being perfectionists. Their focus is on analyzing tasks and things. When it comes to pressure, they're overly critical and their fear is criticism of work. And what that means essentially is they're most critical of the own work that they produce. If it's not accurate, it frustrates them a bit. When it comes to making a change, correct styles are okay with making changes. They just want facts and data and analysis to understand what the purpose of the change is and how it's going to benefit the group or individual or particular subject. When it comes to doing, they want to do things accurately. Let's not rush into anything. Let's take our time and make sure that we're analyzing all the aspects. When you're interacting with a C style, you want to give detailed information, answer questions patiently, and give them time to think and decide. It's not recommended to keep information to yourself or pressure for immediate decisions or be too chatty. That might be too much for them. I'm just raising my hand because I'm the I, as you all know. So who would be some famous C styles? How about Sheldon of The Big Bang Theory? Hermione of Harry Potter? Those are a couple of examples. Bill Gates is known as a C style. All right. Again, none of these styles are better or worse than another. When it comes to thinking about this, the descriptors that I've given, think about the most successful individuals are the ones who have the ability to recognize their style and know the audience that they're interacting with. So they can modify their style to have a more effective interaction with the other person. And again, our styles, they don't put us in 4 different boxes. It's just, as I had indicated, I'm an I style, for instance. So When I talk with someone else who's an I style, it gives me more energy. It gets me excited. It makes me feel as though I have accomplished um, a milestone or a task after I've had an interaction with that individual. But when I communicate with someone who is a different style, it only requires more energy and effort and concentration on my part to make sure that I'm understanding what that person is asking of me.
Question, Nicole.
Yes, Paul.
When I look at the various disc styles, I'm not sure that I fit into any one of them exactly. Like, I think I'm in some ways an S, but not always in terms of how I operate. So how does that work?
That's a great question, Paul. So essentially, as I indicated, we're not necessarily just one style. When I shared the information on the 4 different disc styles, basically I was sharing the purest form of that style. And in actuality, we're not the purest form of one style. We all have a little bit of all of the styles in us. So one of the things I'm going to share in the presentation, Paul, is I'm going to share some tips and techniques on how you can determine what your style is and what feedback you can get from others to help you identify what your style is. Sound good?
That was good. Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's move on. So I'm going to share a couple of quick examples with you of interviews I've been in. As Paul has said, my career spans 35 years. I started out in sales, I moved into training and development, and I am a high I style. I have some S in me, I have a little bit of C, I have no D in me. So please don't be direct or demanding because it might make me a little nervous. So I have been an individual contributor throughout my career. I've also been a leader. So I've had multiple interviews where I've interviewed people and I've been interviewed. So I'm going to share a first example of where I had an interview and I did not do well in that interview. I worked for a corporation and I was super excited because I was in their management program. And one of the criteria was we had to be willing to apply for any management position that became available, regardless of who the hiring manager was or where it was located. So, luck of the draw, I got to interview with a D style. And although I had not worked with this D style in the past, I had heard and understood what this person's position was like. This was a person who was very demanding, very direct, and to the point. So I'm going to let you know this is how the interview started out. Nicole, I want your top 3 weaknesses and I want them right now. On top of which, I was on vacation with my family and I was already in vacation mode and I was nervous. So essentially, what happened, this is how my response went. I fumbled over my words, I was not coherent, and he interrupted me in the middle of my responses with this next question. So, guess what I learned? I didn't hesitate for every question after that. I answered the question as briefly and coherently and quickly as possible. The good news was I didn't get the job. I was very excited. Uh, for a positive experience, I transitioned from sales into training and development, and I was able to network my way into an interview with this company. And I learned that the hiring manager was more of an S style. And even though I had connections to who knew the hiring manager, and they gave me advice and tips on what this person expects, what their communication style is like, I was still, I just had so much energy. I was just super thrilled for this opportunity. But before I went into the interview, I took a couple of deep breaths. I'm, I'm promoting Amy Cuddy. I think she does the Superwoman or Superman style, took a couple of breaths. I've got this, which was very beneficial to me because when I went into the interview with the hiring manager, she was an S style. She was very steady, very calm. She did smile a few times, but I had learned, I probably need to take it back just a little bit. And so I paused after all the questions she asked, and I asked for clarification of my responses at the end. Was there anything that I talked about that she needed more clarity on? And I just shared with her my enthusiasm for the role, and I got the job. So that's just kind of like a couple of examples to think about.
And notice
Yes.
Nicole began with, I networked my way into an interview. So important is building your network. Right.
Absolutely.
Maintaining it.
Thank you so much, Paul. And I will be sharing when we'll be here in a moment on talking about the tips and techniques. We'll talk about how important it is to network, to get to know that hiring manager a little bit more before you get into that interview. Thank you so much for the reminder. Okay, now we're briefly going to identify the DISC style of others. DISC uses a model which is called the OR model. It's the observe, assess, and recognize. And essentially, observe is what they prefer to talk about, their tone of voice, and their body language. Now, if you think about it, in our everyday interactions, whether it's for business or personal, we do this every day. But we may not do this as strategically as what I'm sharing with you today. So when it comes to what they prefer to talk about, do they talk about things or data or details? Do they talk about people? Do they talk about their pets? Do they talk about their family? What is their tone of voice like? Remember how awful that interview was I had with the D? Okay. What is their body language like? I recognize in today's world, we all interview different ways, phone interviews, virtual interviews, in-person interviews. Even over the phone, you can tell if the person on the other line is smiling. So just think about those things. Assess, are they more reserved or active, or are they more task-oriented or people-oriented? And then finally, with these tips can give you guidance in to determine if they're more dominant, influential, steady, and correct. I'm going to take a quick pause, Paul. I think we've got a couple of people in the waiting room. Oh. Plus, for the C's and S's, they can take in this information, right?
Exactly.
Process it.
This was all planned out ahead of time.
Good. Thank you, sir. What styles tend to talk about? This is the observe phase. If you'd like to take a picture of this, you're more than welcome to. We will also be, pardon me, we will also be sending this presentation out to you as well. So whatever you're comfortable with. And also, I'm going to breathe for a second and I'm going to let you just soak this in for a moment. Okay. All right. This slide has a little bit of information on it, but I'm going to be very brief. Again, if the person is more of a reserved style, they are more of an S style or a C style. Or if they're more active, they're more of a D style or an I style. If they're, as far as task orientation, they are either more of a D style or a C style, or if they're more people oriented, they are more of an I style or an S style. And then here's again how we recognize the different styles. Okay. Here are some of the mottos, statements, or questions that folks of the different styles emulate. The D's, am I winning? The I's, am I liked? The S's, am I supported? And then finally, the C's, am I right? Am I correct? Am I accurate? That's probably the better word to use. All right, adjusting disc styles to improve communication. Essentially, we're going to talk about information using the observe, assess, and recognize process, and just a few more tips for you. I'm going to share 4 different statements, and after I review each statement, I'm going to share what their style is like, but I have a feeling with this audience, you'll know what the styles are like already. I am so excited I ran into you. Want to have a cup of coffee? I can't wait to tell you about my promotion. That's an I style, absolutely. Can we get together to review the details and decide as a group? That's an S style. Oh, that's an S style because again, they want to gather as a group to make a decision. I only need a minute. I need to make a decision now. I just like doing that for fun. Can you send it to me in an email? Once I have reviewed all of the details, we can discuss it further. We have some more people coming along. Oh, on the. Okay. Oh, I should have just said the event. Okay. Oh, we're just taking a pause for technical review. I just made that up, technical review. So as I'm going through this, again, I want you to reflect on your interactions with others. What makes them easy to communicate with? What makes it a little bit more challenging? Now we're going to jump into tips and techniques to prepare for that next job interview. First, I'm going to talk about the before, during, and after the job interview. How many of us are told before the job interview, research, 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 research the company, research the industry, research the position? How many of us are told, this is a rhetorical question, how many of us are told research to find out who the hiring manager is? Some of us are, some of us aren't. Frank gets that all the time. You get that once in a while. That's wonderful. But that's just an additional step to look at when preparing for that effective job interview. In researching, as Paul has indicated earlier, networking your way to understand what that hiring manager about is critical. Identify your connections within the company that you're interviewing with. What are the hiring managers, how do they operate? How do they communicate? What's important to them? What's the criteria for the position compared to what you think the criteria, what the communication style is like for the hiring manager? If you don't have the opportunity to network your way into identifying who that hiring manager is, use LinkedIn as an example. Go to the company site, look at the LinkedIn pages of the individual's personnel or of the individuals who work for the company. What are the notes in their profile? Are there words such as, I do this, I've accomplished efficiencies within the company by 53%. I've done that. Or do they use words such as, we as a team have achieved these goals? These are, I find, critical words to pay attention to get a good feel for what the hiring manager is like. And I even go a step further to look at the recommendations given for this particular individual. What does that look like? Does the person giving the review say, you know what, Frank is an independent thinker, and because of his independent thinking, he has been able to help our company increase sales by 20%. That could be kind of variable, right? It may not just necessarily be that Frank is about Frank. It could be Frank may work with a team to collaborate on an idea of how you're going to bring in more sales. So these are just things to think about, okay? Have a mock interview. I've had many mock interviews and it has helped me tremendously. Get together with your connections and have them try out the 4 different styles in asking questions of you. And then we all have to be really open and vulnerable to feedback that we get from them, because that can help us best prepare for the interview. And during the interview, use the observe, assess, and recognize rule, and adjust your style as needed, and request references. That's one of the things that I have found to be valuable when I'm interviewing for a position and I really love the position. I know I'm qualified. I've got the skills. I want to work for this company. I will ask at the end of my interview for 1 to 2 recommendations within the company that I could talk to get a better feel, to continue to do my research, to understand what is it about the company that makes it tick for you or makes you tick. I didn't get that correct, but you guys get what I'm saying. What gets them excited? What makes them want to get up and go to work every day? Because for you, you're sharing your interest in the role with the hiring manager. For the hiring manager, hopefully this is a process for them that they identify, wow, Paul is really interested in this position because he's asking for references, and I'm going to give him some excellent references for our company that he can talk with for about 5 minutes just to get a better understanding of what the company is like. He really wants this position. So I know when we bring him on board, he's going to contribute immediately. I just like to look at the backup of thinking through these things. And then finally, don't forget after the interview to send a thank you note to the hiring manager for their time. Really quick, ideal office space is what I like to call this. This again these are tips and techniques. What does the hiring manager's office space look like? Again, if we're on a phone interview, I know we don't get a chance to see what their office space looks like, but you can observe what words they use when you're interviewing with them. If you have a virtual interview, if they have either their actual background or if they have a virtual background, what does that look like? Is it a minimalist background or are there lots of bold colors? What does that look like? Or if you're meeting in person, what does their office look like? Could it be a little disorganized like me? I'm an I. Are there piles of paper all over their desk and it just looks a little cluttered? Or is it more of an economical look where it has just a table, desk, and chairs, and that's it? A couple of other things. How does the hiring manager dress? More conservative or a little bit more bold? What is the tone and inflection like? And then finally, did the interviewer interact with others if you were just having a one-on-one interview? If so, what was that like? Or even if you're having a panel interview, how does the hiring manager interact with others on their team?
I have to admit, when I see ideal office space, I think of the movie Office Space.
Which is a great movie, by the
It
way.
is. You haven't seen it? We should.
Lumberg, you got to check him out. Yes. Okay. So if you'd like to take a picture of this, feel free to do so. This is basically my last slide, Paul, for doing okay on time. These are questions that I use when I'm interviewing with hiring managers. We are all told, I believe, as far as our checklist when we're interviewing for a position, that we have to prepare our star stories, right? But I like to ask the question, what is your preferred communication style? What do our daily interactions look like? Would you describe your department as independent of others, or do you work collaboratively with others? Now, again, the responses to these questions are not right or wrong. It just helps you it helps to give you an indication as to what the individual's communication style is like. When it comes to decision making on projects, how do you go about it? Finally, my favorite question is, can you tell me a time where you worked on a project and it didn't go the right direction? What was that project? Or if you're not as comfortable, just ask it the opposite way. Ask, tell me about a project that you worked on that went great. What made it so great? That can be very telling as far as what the individual's communication style is like. And then finally, we are in the real world, right? So get feedback, modify your behavior, reflect, be curious, apply the knowledge. This is a lot of information condensed into a high-level overview. And now I'm going to turn it over to Paul, who's going to share some great tools and resources through the St. Louis Library. And Frank is leaving. Thank you. Oh, a quick question. Okay. See, one of my former coworkers would tell me, just please hold Nicole while she's looking something up or.
And Nicole gave the high level overview. I'm going to show you the low level overview.
Oh, you're so funny.
There are some free online desk evaluations.
Wonderful.
123test.com is one. Now I haven't checked any of these out, so I'm just giving you websites that showed up in my feed. Crystal Knows, Crystal knows. Tony Robbins.
Yes.
He has one.
Okay.
I did his
Okay.
several years back. And
Frank, you know better. You can't fail a disc test.
I did,
He worked hard.
no,
Did you study hard for it?
studied 3 weeks.
Hmm.
But there's just a couple of resources that, because this is
Thank you.
us.
Absolutely. Appreciate that, Frank.
Oh, one more last thing, I'm sorry. So I've said this over and over and over again, I'm gonna say it one more time. One question that I think is a throwaway question when you're doing an interview is, what is the company culture like?
Hmm.
First of all, I interviewed hundreds of people, thousands of people over the last.
Well, with your age, it's gotta be at least thousands.
But I've interviewed with hundreds of companies over the years. And not a single company has ever said, oh, no, we are micromanagers and people that are working here. The company that I currently work for out of Kansas City gave me a piece of paper. Or emailed me this thing and said, here's our company culture. If somebody asks, you have to read this to them. So if you ask and you only get 2 or 3 questions, oh, tell me what your company culture is like. Then you just, I'm gonna pull it out and go, oh, here, just read it. So you just lost one of your questions. So I hate to be a stickler on that, but
No, it's true. It's true. Again, on LinkedIn, my name is Nicole J. Meyer. So if any of you would like to connect with me, I do consulting work. And I work with Frank, I work with Paul, and as I indicated, I've been in individual contributor roles, I've been in people leadership roles. And I'd like to understand where you are and provide insight on questions like Frank had said, don't ask, what is your company culture like? But ask the question, hey, could I talk with a couple of people from your company to get a little bit more insight on the company? Although that can be a balance as well, right, Frank? Because there are some questions where security or other policies are in play. So I would not take that negatively if the hiring manager says, no, I'm not really going to share that information. It's just something to ask.
what if you've done your homework ahead of time? You should have a great idea of what's going on with that, and also reached out to multiple people within the organization. And if you don't know how to do that, oh, sorry, plug. I have a LinkedIn class where we will teach you how to do that coming up.
And your last name, Frank?
Alaniz, Alaniz.
Really connect with you.
Absolutely.
Didn't you teach the chat GPT?
Yes.
About
I did, yeah. Actually, Paul taught it. I just sat here and agreed with him the whole time.
No, it was mostly Frank doing the talking and me nodding my head and kind of doing what I did with Nicole here, kind of pop in every once in a while just to remind people that I'm still alive. But no. So I want to answer a few questions that have come up here in terms of uh, in terms of just basic fundamental stuff. Yes, we are recording this. It will be available on the St. Louis County Library's YouTube site. It's going to be a few days / week or so before it actually gets up, but it will be there. Also, I will be sending out the slides that we're using today, and I'll also be sending out the link to the county library's YouTube channel so that you'll be able to get the slides, see those, and be able to access this from YouTube when it arrives, whenever that might be. Also, do you want to let everyone know that I am departing from the slideshow? Rather than show the slides that frankly don't need to be there anymore, because I'm going to be moving on and I'm going to be looking at the St. Louis County Library's website. So that's where we are right now, except for what's on the screen here. So I'm going to close this and we're going to get on the county library's homepage. here we are. So let me go ahead and make sure that I'm sharing website. Okay, share. We are.
Anything else in the room? Your waiting room? I got a couple of notes from people saying they couldn't get in.
Okay, yeah, I've got participants here.
I would say at top.
Yeah, don't see anybody at the moment. Might have been a few minutes ago, potentially. Okay, 17 minutes. Thank you, Nicole. So, like I said before, I'm Paul Steensland. I'm an information services librarian here at the St. Louis County Library, and my job is to show people resources. When it comes to job hunters, I'm here to show you resources to help you find a job. If you're an entrepreneur, I'm going to show you resources to help you make money or help you save money. And the great thing about it is, very often the resources I show are the same ones. The ones I'm going to show you today are St. Louis County Library e-learning resources or e-courses. Has anyone ever used these before? Has anyone ever used LinkedIn Learning? Anyone ever used Udemy? All right. Yeah, Frank's used them both. Has anybody paid for these resources before? Okay, so back when Frank was in his log cabin reviewing the e-courses, he paid for them. And I would like to have seen the Wi-Fi signal he was getting back in Abe Lincoln times. Yeah, they had the dial-up. Yeah, that was good. But either way, I'm going to show you resources that you can get for free that will help you with interpersonal communication, organizational communication, and interviewing communication. So the first website or the first resource I'm going to go to is LinkedIn Learning. You've heard of this before, I'm assuming. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to click on Research and Learn. And these will be in the slides too that you'll be receiving. You're not looking at them, but you will be receiving them. And then I'm going to click on Continuing Education. And then I'm going to scroll down. Click on LinkedIn Learning. Gives us a short description of LinkedIn Learning. You can also download the LinkedIn Learning app and sign in with the library code SLCL. We're on a Windows PC, so we're going to click Go to Resource. Get started. One thing I like about LinkedIn Learning is it's easy to sign in. All you have to do is know your St. Louis County Library card number and PIN number. Everyone in here has a St. Louis County Library card. Am I correct? Excellent. All right. Yeah, we could log in Nicole right here if we wanted, but I'm going to type in and then my PIN. I actually remember this. When it comes to remembering usernames, passwords, that's why I use a password manager. So we've got all kinds of stuff here, but I'm going to click up here at the top. I'm going to click search, and oh, look at that. Don't let it be said that Paul does not prepare. Organizational communication. So you've got a bunch of various options here. You can go like 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Yeah, you get a real quick overview here, a couple of 3-minute ones. But then here is 36 minutes driving change through impactful communication. About a half hour long. You could do that on your lunch hour. Let's click on it.
Yeah, we don't really need to hear her talk right now, but either way, she is talking. You can see that. But either way, this is Melissa Dinwiddie. Got your course details here. It was released Halloween on 2024. Why am I not surprised this was released on Halloween? But either way, I like to look at when was the course released because I like it to be as current as possible. But for something like organizational communication, maybe it doesn't need to be all that current. Meaning, I don't like to watch anything previous to COVID just because information tends to get pretty old. Plus, you don't want a lot of that pre-COVID optimism that you might remember back in the day and all of that. You know, we want the cynical post-COVID type stuff. But either way, I like to be as up to date as possible when I'm learning courses, especially if I'm spending 36 minutes of my time to learn this. But we've got the course details here, learning objectives. Okay, if you like it, you've got a few more possibilities down here. What do you think so far?
Lots of great information.
I think so. Up here at the top, you have got your navigation. So let's see. Let's get rid of some of those quick ones. Let's spend a little more time. Let's go 3+ hours. Show results. Improve your change communication skills. Develop the skills needed to lead in times of change. Leadership effectiveness in global communications, 12 hours. But if you got hired by a global organization, maybe 12, that might be the best 12 hours that you spend, because that way learning intercultural communications might be on tap for you. So either way, we have got an incredible amount of free resources available for you if you have a St. Louis County Library card. Let's move on.
And you can look things up in your, comfortable jammies and slippers and cup of coffee, and don't even have to leave your house.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully your room is more comfortable than this room. This room's rather cold, but yeah, that's why you need your coffee, you need your jam, you need to be under the covers, under your comforter if your room is this cold. But let's move on to our next resource, which can be a little challenging at times to get logged into. This next one is wonderful, though. It's called Udemy. I'm going to click Research and Learn, just like before. I'm going to click Continuing Education. Scroll down. Choose Udemy. Gives you a little description about Udemy. Need to be 13 years of age or older. I'm not really sure why that is, but either way, go to resource. Okay, I'm gonna
Make sure it's
make sure it's me. Who else would I be? Camera's in use. Okay. So I'm gonna log into my password manager because there's little chance I'm gonna be able to remember my my login information. Okay, let's log in. Cross your fingers. Okay, let's get rid of that. Let's log in. This is the easy login. It gets harder. That's just to make sure you got a library card. Then we have to log into our Udemy account.
What's the
Okay.
benefit being free?
Okay, something went wrong. Yeah, I had a feeling something like this would happen. It often does.
Oh, can't live with it, can't live without it.
I agree. But either way, Udemy is fantastic. If this would have logged in, you would have seen even more e-learning options than LinkedIn Learning. That's how good Udemy is. And that's why I'm a little bummed that I wasn't able to show this to you. But either way, it is really, really good. And I encourage you to have a look at it. Yes, sir. Pardon me? Yes, you are. So I'm going to click on New tab. And I'm going to show you something new. It's going to be called Brain Fuse Job Now. Now, I'm sure in the room there are career coaches somewhere in this room. And these career coaches probably worth every cent you pay for them. But the St. Louis County Library has an online career coach that's free. I'm going to show you how to access it. So click Research and Learn, click Continuing Education, scroll down, Brain Fuse Job Now. A little bit more about it. This is an online career coach, online resume coach, online interviewing coach who will work with you over chat to improve your skills. They're available from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. every night. I'm going to click Go to Resource. So let's say you need to get your resume in order. Now, there's a few ways you can do that. You could pay somebody to write you a new resume, and they'd be pretty expensive, wouldn't they, Frank? $500. And then when you need to have your resume updated, oh boy. All right. Well, you could do that. Frank would be happy if you did that. But, oh, okay. Well, he's basically trying to he's trying to. Then what you could do, you could give it your best shot, write your resume, take your existing resume, come over to the resume lab over here, and you could say something like, here's my existing resume. Here is the job I want to apply for. Please tell me where I need to improve my current resume. Or what you could do before that, you could sit down with one of us here at the library and we could pull out our friend Gemini AI, and we can do that. We can say, here's my existing resume, upload. Here is the job that I want to apply for, copy, paste, or upload. Please optimize my resume for this job. We'll actually sit down with you step by step and show you how to do it. So that's what I would do if I was updating my resume, and I would do that. And then I come to the live resume expert. And I would say, I'm applying for this job. Here is my current resume. Please help me improve it, because AI is great, but you really need that human touch in there. You really need that someone who knows the English language better than I do, because I went to school in Kentucky, but somebody who can help you with your verbiage a little bit. Then maybe you're ready to send it off to that job. Maybe not. So that's how I would do it.
Frank has something to add.
Yeah, great, great. So I mentioned, how do you get this kind of help? Well, let me show you. Open up a new tab, click home page, research and learn. This time I'm going to click one-on-one assistance. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click on book a librarian. I advertise this every single program that I do because, well,
It's invaluable. I've done it when I was in my job search mode.
I've helped the whole family.
You, you helped my son.
So just give us some basic information about yourself. Down here toward the bottom is the really important stuff. First of all, how do you want to meet with us? Ignore email. You don't want to do that. Zoom and in person at one of our branches. Those are the two that you want to choose. And then which branch is closest to you if you want to meet in person. This is going to be important. And then topic. Tell us as much as you can about what you're looking to do. If you're looking for work, tell us that. If you've got the job you want to apply for, copy paste that link. If you want to work with me, you can do that. If you do not want to work with me, you can do that too. And then click submit. One of my colleagues will get in touch with you, confirm what you're asking for, find a good day and time that works well for you, and we'll get you scheduled.
I highly recommend.
Me too. It's, the amount of information you get is, like I said earlier, it's invaluable. I mean, obviously we have access to so many things with the internet, but just having that one-on-one conversation with a librarian to dig deeper into your industry position, what the forecast looks like, company.
All right. Does anyone have any final questions this evening? Or any questions overall? Don't have to be final questions. Cool. Well, that must mean we have answered all of the questions. Like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. Before I leave you, I've got just one more thing, and that is coming up in